Gotta get in it for
Okay, Objective 108, take 1.
Today we will be learning about Objective 108.
Okay, who, just to make sure, between some of you learned this yesterday, who wasn't here yesterday?
All the sophomores.
Show of hands. Who was not here yesterday? So a couple, and you guys have notes? Everybody who wasn't here yesterday has the notes? Okay. On Objective 108, now I'm going to read the title, but then I'm going to talk to you kind of about what we're doing on 108. It says determine the number, or determine the solutions of an equation in factored form. We've been factoring the last couple weeks, and factoring is where we take a trinomial and we're going to basically unfoil it into two binomials. So what it's saying, it's in factored form, you're going to see two binomials. Now there's this one concept that really needs to be stressed, and I'm going to illustrate it right here with this smiley face and this football.
Ralph and Bob.
Ralph and Bob. Ralph the
No,
smiley
Bob
face.
Bob and
No,
Ralph.
it was Bob the smiley face.
Bob the smiley face and Ralph the football. All right, so if you're multiplying two things, and that's why I just did things, because we see so many numbers and so many x's, anytime that you are multiplying two things, and in here it's a smiley face and a football. If I multiply these two things and somehow I get 0, what I know is the only way that you can multiply two things and get 0 is if one of these things, either the smiley face is the 0 or the football is the 0. So the only way that you can multiply two things and somehow get 0 is if one of the two things, either this one or this one, is 0. Now, obviously, you're not going to have smiley face and footballs. What you're going to have, instead, your things are going to be two binomials. So what you're going to see on this objective is I'm multiplying one binomial right here, which is b plus 8. And I'm going to multiply that by this other binomial, which is b plus 1. But even though you see like four things, you see b and an 8 and a b and a 1, you're really just multiplying two things here. You're multiplying this times this, and you're somehow getting 0. So what we do when you're multiplying two things and you get 0 is you're going to set either the first one is causing the 0 to happen, or the second one is causing the 0 to happen. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set b plus 8 equal to 0, and then we're going to go and set b plus 1 equal to 0, and we're going to get two different answers. So either, as it's written right here, either b plus 8 is 0 or b plus 1 is 0. And then you make these little equations and you have to solve them. So subtract 8 on each side, and b equals what? Negative 8. So that's one answer. b is negative 8. Bless you. All right, then you're going to minus 1 on each side, and you're going to get b equals negative 1. And here's your two answers. So your overall answer is actually C, negative 8, negative 1. Another way to think about it, really easy. If your b's don't have coefficients, this is very easy. What would go with 8 to make 0? If I had positive 8, what goes with it to make 0? Negative 8. So if I got b plus 8 is 0, well then b must be negative 8. What goes with positive 1 to make 0? Negative 1. So if you have really like no coefficients, it's easy to see b plus 8, that's coming from negative 8. b plus 1, that must be negative 1. Now if you have coefficients, which you're getting ready to, it's a little more difficult. So let's look at the next one where you still have two binomials being multiplied. All right, we're multiplying two binomials. The first one is 7u plus 3, and the second one is 7u minus 7. So if you're multiplying two things and it equals 0, what do you need to do? Make each one equal 0. And you see I do this below. 7u plus 3 equals 0, or 7u minus 7 equals 0. And see, these are slightly more complicated. You're going to actually have to work each one out. So the very first one, you're going to minus your 3 over. And you're going to get 7u equals negative 3. And divide by 7. And you get u is negative 3/7. That's one answer. The other one, add the 7 over. And you get 7u equals 7. Divide by 7. And you get u equals what? 1. So your two answers u equals -3/7 or u equals 1, positive 1. All right, so that's what you do. If you're multiplying two binomials and you get 0, set the first binomial equal to 0. Set the second binomial equal to 0. Now watch what happens on the next one. You're not multiplying two binomials. Here's the difference. It looks like this. You are still, regardless of the fact that you're not multiplying two binomials, you're still multiplying two things. This thing times this thing. Just the first one's not a binomial. And if it's not a binomial, any guess what it actually is? What this is? Is what?
A monomial.
It's a monomial. Monomial. It's one piece. So you're multiplying a monomial, which is the one piece, times the binomial, which is two pieces. But the same thought applies as the football and the smiley face. If you're multiplying two things, this thing, and you get 0, then either set this equal to 0 or set this equal to 0. So when you go -4a equals 0, right here, divide both sides by -4, and it's still just 0 divided by -4 is just 0. So you get a equals 0. One answer, a equals 0. And then on the other one, -1 and a equals what? Negative. So there's your two answers, -1 and 0. And where they came from is, if you set this equal to 0, a is 0. If you set this equal to 0, a is -1. So that's it. You're either multiplying two binomials on this objective, or you're multiplying one monomial and a binomial. And the monomial won't be in parentheses. So these next two down below, I'm going to give you just a minute, and I want you to work out each of these. The first one is binomial times binomial, and the second one is monomial times binomial. And work it out and find out what your two different answers are. Just looking at this one right here. Just this one right here. If you got k minus 5, what number would make k minus 5 be 0? Positive 5. Now this one is a little bit trickier. The number that makes this 0 is a fraction. What is it? 4/3. If you didn't know where to get that, 6k minus 8 equals 0 gives you 4/3. 6k equals 8. K equals 8/6. And that reduces to 4/3. So you get 5 from here. You get 4/3 from the other one. So we want C. And then this one, I don't even need to use my pencil on this last one. If you set w equal to 0, then w equals 0 and you're done. So 0, and then what number goes with 5 to give you 0? -5. So 0 is an answer, and -5 is an answer. So both of them end up being C. And that is it. So when you have two binomials being multiplied and they equal 0, set each one equal to 0. If it's a monomial and binomial, still set each one equal to 0. All right, let's go and get started.